Hello and welcome to the Travel, Business and Mindset podcast. My name is Ollie Clark and today is episode 3, and today we're going to be interviewing Jessie Stacey all about her new business and how things went wrong in Australia, which inspired her to set up her new business. Now, generally the businesses which I like to interview are people who have a love of travel, business and mindset, and so we're going to be learning a little bit about Jessie's journey and how things went a little bit pear-shaped, but it ended up with some really awesome dog walking business. So I'm really keen and really excited to hear all about it. I literally know nothing about her. She jumped on a post and said, "I was like, I'd love to get involved." I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So hello, Jessie. Yeah, where are we going to
Hello.
start?
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so I'm not going to bore you to death because the story spans across the years. But basically, I have ended up in a world which, when I was growing up, I knew nothing about. My mum came from, she was a single parent. Bless her, she didn't finish school, so she had no qualifications. And she jumped into a life which, resulted in having me, which was lovely. And of course, I'm very grateful for that. But for me, growing up, like things were really tough. Like we just had to struggle by. And as I grew up, I always knew that I never really wanted to kind of have that life. Like I wanted to have something different. But I didn't really know sort of where to start and how to do it. And so, of course, as everybody does, I started by getting a full-time job after I left university. And that was great and obviously paid the bills and put money in my pocket. But I didn't really feel fulfilled. Like I would always remember the last job I had before I went traveling to Australia, which is kind of where this whole sort of story started, was that I was sitting in the office looking out of the window and I'm watching all these people come and walk by and have a little browse at all of these like hundreds of £1,000 and £1,000,000 houses that we had on sale. And I was sitting there sort of thinking, how do I get there? Like, how do I become the person on the other side of the window? And I had no idea, but I knew that if I stayed in that office role, I would never get there. So there was something going on in my brain, but I wasn't quite sure what it was. I've always been told that I'm very spirited and I'm a bit wild, I'm a bit out there. So I basically decided, I think it was roughly around about like September time, I decided that I didn't want to be in the UK anymore and I wanted to go traveling. So I had a partner at the time and he agreed that, okay, we should go. So I think yeah, literally September, October, November, December, we went December 2017. And we basically just got rid of our flat, sold all of our stuff, closed down our bank accounts, and went for this like brand new life. But obviously, it didn't quite pan out like I thought it would and how you might imagine it would. But we had a great time in Australia, but we had lots of turbulent times whilst we were out there as well.
Cool. So what were you doing in Australia?
So we did the work and holiday visa, which I would absolutely recommend if anybody wants to go and spread their wings and explore. Australia is a fantastic place, and the number one thing for me was the weather because I love the sunshine, and you pretty much get that every single day, unless you go to Melbourne. That's a little bit different. That's a little bit more like the UK. But we were Sydney and Brisbane based, so I did a couple of months in a recruitment role, again working from home. It's that kind of on the computer stuff. And it was lovely. I worked with an amazing company called Dream Nannies and a beautiful founder of that who's actually from the UK but married an Aussie and moved over there. And it was lovely, but we had some problems in our relationship that we took out there. And when we were out in Australia, those issues were still there. And at that point in my life, I wasn't very like self aware of how I work and how relationships in the universe work because I'd kind of been brought up with my mum, bless her, it's not her fault, but she was always in very violent, very aggressive relationships. So for me, that was kind of the norm. And I didn't want to lose what I had because I thought, well, if I do, I'll never get another one like it. Just a real kind of putting yourself down sort of mindset. So when we were out there, I think it was about 3 months into driving up and down the east coast of Australia, like Brisbane and Cairns, and we went to the rainforest and Cape Tribulation, and it was all lovely and wonderful. But we still had our relationship problems. So about 3 or 4 months in, my ex-partner basically just had a meltdown and said he couldn't take it anymore and decided that he wanted to go back to the UK. And it was at that point where I had that like sliding doors moment where I said, well, I can either stay and continue here or I can go home. And I wasn't ready to give up yet. Like I knew that there was more to my journey and to my story if I stayed out there and did it. So I went out there in a 4 or 5 year relationship, and I came back basically single. But that was fine because for the rest of my time out there, I joined a ranch. So basically a horse ranch. It was 30 acres. It was in East Sydney, so it was in the most beautiful location. You know, you've got maybe one neighbour down the road, all this beautiful views and all the birds singing, and oh, it was incredible. And that for me, I'd always loved animals. I'd always been very much into my dogs and into my horses. And I kind of wanted to expand the horse section of that a little bit more. So joining that for me was that next step, and it gave me that. But the interesting lessons I took away from that in terms of connecting back to myself and you know and to the universe as well was that when you're looking for a position to work out there, you obviously quite a few of them are paid positions, of course. And I looked at some of those where you get paid like $100 a day, and this position had no pay. So I was going to go to the middle of nowhere to go and live on a ranch, basically stay in a flat that was inside the stables, and I would have no car, I would have no friends, no family, and I would have no money. So obviously for most people they'd be like, oh my god, no, like don't do it, like red flag, red flag. But I just knew it was right. Like I knew when I spoke to them that I was going to have the most amazing time there, and I did, and it was the best thing ever. So that was for me the big stepping stone into this whole world where I saw how a different type of person lives. You know, these people had 30 acres, they had their own bungalow, they had indoors and outdoor schools, they held clinics for the horses, and they would have Olympians come. There's a Australian horse rider called Brett Carberry, and he rides for the Australian Olympics team. And he just came down and like held a clinic at their site. And I was just like, oh God, this is amazing. Like, this is exactly what I wanted. So I got to meet lots of different people from all different lives of walks of life. And of course, hear their stories, which I think then helps you kind of decide where you want your story to go.
Oh, amazing. So Australia kind of brought you into the world of horses and dogs, and now you're back in the UK and you created this new business. Do you want to tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about your new business?
Yeah, absolutely. So from seeing them run a business in the equine world, I thought, well, am I going to do that when I go back to the UK? Probably not, because having horses is quite expensive. But my other passion in life is having dogs. And I grew up with Rottweilers, one of my favorite breeds. So when I came back to the UK, I knew that I didn't, well, I wanted to stay in Australia, but I knew that I wanted to get some roots here first. And I thought it was very important to do that. And plus my mum's here, you know, and you've got to look after your mum. So I came back and I said to myself, what can I do? So I started a side hustle literally just before we went into the pandemic. So I had a full-time job working in an office, which I knew wasn't going to be fair. But I started a side hustle of helping people with their dogs. So that was behavior work, that was pet sitting when they go away. And of course that was going really well and it was going really fine. And then COVID hit. So for most people, COVID was a little bit tricky for them to navigate, and of course, it was a tough time for everybody. But for me, it gave me the clarity to be able to decide where do I want to go. And now that I haven't got to go into the office every day, I was able to take some time, like a lot of time at the end of the day and at the beginning of the day, because I wasn't driving to go to work, to actually kind of focus on where I wanted my little side hustle to go. So from starting then, I sat down, you know, got my plan out, came up with a business name, did all the little bits and pieces, got the website going and that sort of thing. And then I was ready to hit the ground running when we came out of COVID, which of course did happen. And so suddenly there I was needing to do my side hustle, but also working full time. And of course, you can't do both. So I ended up quitting my full-time job, and that was the best thing I ever did, of course. But with that, you get a lot of hardship because your money changes, your situations change. And I don't think I was so prepared in my mind for that to happen. And that's then where I've had to now, because I'm in that scenario, I've had to propel myself into understanding how businesses work, how money works, how your mindset to keep grounded and to keep present and to keep learning as well is so important. And it has worked. It is working because we're here now and we've got some amazing things that are going on. But yeah, I mean, there was a couple of months after going self-employed, and I found myself, I was in my house share, and suddenly I had to vacate this house share through no reason of my own, but I had to vacate, and I had no budget. I had no money. I'd just taken on my own job as well, and ended up being homeless for 2 months. Which was really horrible. Sleeping at friends, sleeping at my car in my car. Obviously slept at my mum's a couple of times, but she had a 1 bedroom, not a 2 bed, so there wasn't really much room for me and the dog there. And again, being at that lowest point in your life, you can only go up from there. Or I mean, you can keep going down. You can end up obviously spiraling down some dark rabbit holes, but for me, I just always knew that really, I suppose that was my reset. I was resetting back to the bottom so that I could then kind of climb and grow. Fast forward 2 years, the business is doing well. We're turning over a profit. It's a limited company now as well. We employ other people. I've bought my first property. So, it has worked. But you've got to stay so grounded in your mindset, and you've got to practice. You've got to practice what you preach. You can't just say it. You've actually got to do it.
Oh, that's pretty amazing to grow and everything like that. So,
Yeah.
business growth and goals and everything like that. A lot of people like hearing about the goals. What is your kind of like your goals and your dream for your business?
Well, when I started, I was like, I'm going to have the biggest dog walking and pet care business in the UK. Like that was my goal. Like not just small, not just in Hampshire or West Sussex, like in the UK. And I think it's good to have those dreams because I think, if that happens, great, I've manifested it to happen. But if it doesn't happen, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to beat myself up for it because I didn't achieve that. I just need to have a look and see what I have achieved and still give myself a bit of a pat on the back. But now I think my goals have probably shifted a little bit. Now I'm all about understanding the power of wealth and the secrets to becoming that sort of type of person where I never have to worry about money, because we do everything in a certain way that allows us to live this financial freedom life.
Amazing. That's so cool. Yeah, I love this next question. So
Okay.
I always ask everyone this is the final question. So a lot of the followers on the channel and on Facebook group and everything are women, and my next question is what makes you most proud to be a woman in business?
Okay, so first of all, shout out to all the women in business because it is tough. um, what makes me most proud? I suppose it's because really, don't get me wrong, obviously, like I have a boyfriend, he's wonderful. I have lots of male friends that are great and they're wonderful. But I love to see women that just don't like they're just so proud of what they do. Like they're unapologetically like I'm doing this and I will make that work. And I'm so proud of that. I mean, I'm in a WhatsApp group chat with quite a few other local businesses in my area. We kind of share work and we share like if there's lost dogs or people that we should avoid and stuff like that. And most of these dog walking businesses and pet sitting businesses that I'm in this chat with, they're all women. It is women that dominate this. And dog walking is a tough job. It's all weathers, it's all year. You're driving around pretty much all day. And doing the admin side of it, that there's a lot of men perhaps that can't do that side of the computing. I mean, my partner, bless him, he can't even print something out, you know, he has to send it to me to do. So, you know, I'm just so proud that the women out there that want to start these businesses, they're just unapologetic about it, and they're just getting like stuck in knee deep, and they're just giving it their best shot, but also they're doing it with compassion, and with kindness as well, and maybe taking it away from that sort of, you know, male dominated sort of assertiveness, and sort of putting a little bit more of a sweet touch to it, and I just think that's lovely, and I think we do need a little bit more of that as well.
Oh, amazing. Right, well, I think we're pretty much all done for today. So, for anyone watching today, I hope you've enjoyed hearing Jessie's story. Jessie's based in Portsmouth, so if you need a dog walker, reach out to Jessie. And yeah, also, if you've enjoyed it, it'd be great if you could like and subscribe. This is episode 3. Who knows how many episodes we're going to do. If you are a business related to travel mindset and business, we'd love you to get involved too. And thank you for watching.